Hi everybody, it's Destry. Welcome back to my yard. How are you guys doing? Oh my gosh. I just got off work and I was thinking about how being in my yard after a stressful day of work is like my therapy. It is like my happy place, right? People say some things their happy place. And I think what they really mean by that is that it helps them to relax and just feel really energized. And that is what it is like being in my yard. So I'm going to bring you along tonight. We will be creating a bouquet because I've got some beautiful flowers. And I also want to show you how you can use some non-traditional things in an arrangement. So I'm going to be creating a vase arrangement tonight just to bring some joy into my world. First of all, we got to go see what's in the yard. So I've got my clippers, I've got my garden gloves, I've got my decaf iced coffee. Let's go see what we can find to make a really pretty arrangement. And then I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to put things together in a vase to make it look gorgeous. All right, let's do this. I am losing my light, so it's time to stop clipping flowers and start arranging. So what I've got here is a vase filled with nice cold water and a little bit of this. This is called Floral Life. Any kind of like floral preservative will be great. It will help extend the life of your flowers and your cut flower arrangement. The other thing I would suggest getting is a little bit of this. So this is a florist tape. It's a waterproof tape, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. So actually what I'm gonna do, I need my snippers too. What I'm gonna do is create some structure in my vase, because one of the things that I've learned about floral arranging, I'm definitely not an expert by any means, but is that if you don't have structure in the vase, it can be really difficult to create beautiful arrangements. I have to find the end of this tape, so that's the challenge now. Here we go. So what I'm gonna do is take this, it's really thin, and I'm just gonna use this to create a grid on the top. And you can do this with any vase. It doesn't harm the vase. There's no like sticky residue or anything after the fact that I've noticed, at least, and I've been using it for a while. You could also use what's called like a flower frog in the bottom of your vase or something like that, but I have just found that this trick is really slick and it works really well. So I'm gonna create my grid. So I'm just going back and forth, and you can grab either of these, the floral preservative or the floral tape on Amazon. Pretty easy to find. Okay, so I've got my grid, and then what I'm gonna do with one final piece is I'm gonna kind of like push down the ends, and then I'm gonna wrap it around. So that will kind of hold everything in place and, you know, again, help create that structure so that I'm looking for. So that's probably good. I'm gonna turn the end under so I can find the end of the tape later. The other thing I've got is I like to kind of spread out when I'm arranging. So I've got all my ingredients spread out on this table. I've got everything kind of in bunches of the different things that I collected. So I'm gonna start with just foliage. So I was able to grab some beautiful ferns. Again, I live in the Willamette Valley in the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon, and a zone 8B. And so we have lots of ferns. I have some beautiful ferns in my yard. I'm gonna start this kind of a one-way arrangement where this is the back and working towards the front. But I wanna start with any of my like greens, and those are kind of my fillers. So this one came from a bush that I just have in my backyard, and look at how beautiful the leaves are. Like they're a lighter color on the other side. I wish I knew what kind of bush that was. It was here when I arrived to this yard. My husband and I have done a ton of work to our yard to make it really pleasant and beautiful. And of course, I have my vegetable garden, and I just started my cut flower garden, so it's really fun. But I like these. These have a lot of movement to them. I dropped one. And so I'm gonna tuck those in there. And that grid is really helping like keep everything in place. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of work my way forward, thinking about what else I have. So one of the other ingredients I got, you guys, was from my potatoes. So did you know that if you plant potatoes, they actually will flower, but you don't actually need the flowers to be pollinated in order to grow potatoes. Like they grow under the ground regardless of if they're pollinated or not. Now, I usually leave the blooms for the pollinators, right? It's good for our bee community and our pollinators, our hummingbirds and things like that. But this time I thought, well, I can sneak a few of those away and use them as cut flowers. So that's another kind of untraditional ingredient that I'm using tonight, is something from my veggie garden. So potatoes, yummy to eat, beautiful blooms, who knew? The next thing I grabbed was, I have some beautiful jasmine. It smells amazing. So this one is gonna act as a filler, but also mainly for the smell. I want that beautiful aroma in this arrangement so that when I walk into my dining room where I'm planning on putting this on my table, I can just smell that beautiful smell. So I am gonna strip some of the leaves. So that's another tip I have for you, is to, you know, get rid of any of the leaves down here so they don't rot in the water. Also will help things last longer. But I'm excited for these to bloom, or to, I'm sorry, to smell and to bloom. I'm excited for the blooms. They're really pretty. They're like this beautiful pink color, and then they sort of age to like a kind of creamy white. So don't worry too much if you're tucking things in the back and it seems like maybe that is not hitting the water. You can always kind of refill your vase a little bit more later, or kind of move things around. But I'm really liking the way that this is looking so far. And I'm kind of going for that kind kind of fountain effect. I think I'm going to tuck this one kind of more in the front. Okay, so now I keep working forward. I'm going to look for some more color. So this is some cat's mint. It's really a nice flower. It smells lovely. The cats love it. It's actually non-toxic for cats, so it's a little like catnip. They love like rubbing against it. My cat does, at least, but it actually makes for a really beautiful cut flower. And then I've got my cosmos. These ones I grew from seed. I'm pretty proud of myself. And that these are intentionally they were in my cut flower garden this year. It was one of the things I wanted to try to grow. So they're finally blooming, and I'm sorry, I can't help myself any longer. I've got to get them in a vase, and I want to bring them in my house and enjoy them. And I feel like that's so important. Like whether you grow flowers or whether you just go on a nature walk and gather some things, like put them in a vase, bring them indoors, enjoy them. I mean, it's one thing to enjoy them outside, but it's another to just kind of have fun and get creative and throw some things in a vase or even any kind of vessel and just kind of see what happens. It's really a fun thing to do. Great thing to do with kids too, if you have family like I do. Okay, those are looking great. And like you can kind of see, I'm trying to kind of put those more colorful, impressive flowers kind of more towards the front. And then again, in the back is more of these like taller leafy flowers. I know it's kind of hard to see with striped chairs behind. Probably should have thought of that. All right, one of my last ingredients here, these are my Shasta daisies, which they are finally blooming. So there's my next tip for you is don't be afraid to cut things that you actually planted in pots. Like if you purchase the plant, you planted it in a pot, it's blooming. Oh, I can't cut it, I have to leave it in that pot. Well, why can't you cut it? You can cut it. It'll just grow, especially flowers that are cut and come again flowers. Shasta daisies, you know, enjoy them while they're blooming. Again, throw them in a vase, see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? I can enjoy these pretty little Shastas in a vase this week. Oh, that's coming together really nicely. And then my main event, my focal flowers are some roses from my front. Again, you'd want to strip the leaves off the bottom, and you also want to pick them when they're pretty budded up. First thing in the morning is best, but you know what? I work, so here I am in the evening, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to cut them and enjoy them. So these ones I'm going to kind of tuck in kind of more in the middle, see where they feel right. And another tip, don't be afraid to like pull things out and start over. If you start arranging and your things just aren't looking right, don't be afraid to just pull it apart, redo it. There's nothing wrong with that. You're learning as you go. I know I'm learning as I go. All right, so I'm gonna tuck this one more in the front, trying to find a spot in that grid that I created. And then my last one is gonna go in the back. Another thing that can help is to get a Lazy Susan and actually put your vase on a Lazy Susan to help you like spin it around, especially a bouquet that you're gonna see from multiple angles. This one is just one that I'm gonna be seeing mostly from the front. But if you were, you know, had a table setting or something and there was gonna be people sitting behind this arrangement, you would definitely wanna, you know, consider that. All right, you guys, I'm really loving the way that this is turning out. I actually had enough collection out of my yard to make 2 bouquets. So I'm gonna share those with you now, and you can check out the final result. Gardening tonight. I thought I'd quickly introduce you to my pups. This is Milo and Max. Max is our new Aussie Doodle. He's a mini Aussie Doodle, and we are just in love. We're just enthralled. Milo over here is only about a year old, so he was ready for a playmate. Anyway, thanks for joining me tonight. I hope that you, oh baby, I hope that you learned a little bit about some tips for flower arranging. I hope that it motivated you to get out in your yard and just take a pair of scissors, see what's out there, throw it in a vase, get creative, and just really enjoy your yard. So thanks for joining me. If you like this video, please subscribe and like the video. I would appreciate it as a new YouTuber. And Max and I will see you next time. All right, bye.